YouTube, what is going on? It is your boy Sports Culture, and I have another video for you guys here, man. It is 5 realistic edge rush prospects for the Green Bay Packers in the 2025 NFL Draft class. And I made a video very similar like this, but for cornerbacks. So if you do want to watch that video, I will leave the link somewhere on your screen or in the description. But like I said, 5 realistic edge rush prospects. So guys like Abdul Carter and James Pierce will not be on this list because I do think both those guys would probably be gone before pick 15, respectfully. So they would just not be on this list. But besides those two guys, man, I think this is a very deep, talented, versatile, athletic edge rush class, man. I think this is one of the better ones we've seen in the last couple of years, just like cornerback in this year's draft class. I think it's very deep. I think it's very talented ridden. And I think the Packers, man, if they target one of these guys day one, day two, depending on where these guys fall, I think they could get themselves a legit stud and someone that could be very productive as a rookie and could be a very good player for many years to come. So without further ado, man, let's get right into this. All right, so the first edge rush prospect on this list is Braden Swinson, and this guy definitely profiles more as a 3-4 outside linebacker at the next level. But the quickness, the explosiveness, the athleticism, the speed, the bend, the twitch I seen off the line on the edge when I turned on the film was phenomenal. And the reason why I have Braden Swinson on this list is because the Packers love drafting these power rushers, these big 6'5", 6'4", 6'6" power rushers that are relatively like high ceiling players, athletic, but have some limitations in terms of speed, bend, and twitch. I want us to start getting away from that. I want us to start molding these speed rusher guys into a 4-3 defensive end because we've seen it with Brandon Cox. He didn't get that many playing time last year, but once Preston Smith got traded away, we've seen what Brandon Cox's speed was off the edge, and I think Braden Swinson is way faster, way more explosive, way more twitchier off the edge, and has a lot of moves in his arsenal. I still think power moves wise and counter moves wise, Braden Swinson has to learn from that and has to develop more. But this dude is explosive off the line. He's super bendy, super twitchy. His hands are fairly long. He has a very good wingspan for an edge rusher. He's always getting his hands first on the offensive line, man. And like I said, man, the athleticism is there at the edge. This dude is constantly hawking down people from the left side of the field to the right. I will say, though, his run defense is a little iffy. I think his tackling techniques definitely need some work. And his discipline at setting the edge and his eye discipline is okay. But besides that, man, the upside with a guy like Braden Swinson as a pass rusher off the edge, if we could mold him into a 4-3 defensive end, it's off the charts, man. And we already have a lot of projects. Why not add someone that's an athletic, speedy, speed rusher off the edge into that room and build him and mold him into a 4-3 defensive end? Because I think Braden Swinson can be a legitimate game wrecker as a pass rusher at the next level. So the first prospect on this list is Braden Swinson. Next prospect on this list is national champion Jack Sawyer, and this dude was very good for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I feel like he's in a sense pro ready. I feel like you know what you're getting from Jack Sawyer once you draft him. A power rusher at 6'5", 260 pounds, very gritty, high motor. And I think in a sense that's why he was very good as a pass rusher. I don't think he has many moves in his arsenal. I think he only has his bull rush right now and a rip move. But just his high motor and his grittiness was just why he was such a good pass rusher. He was just nonstop with his relentless effort and his motor. Like I said, only has like 2 to 3 moves in his arsenal right now with just the rip move and just a straight up bull rush. But this year had 18% win rate, 54 pressures, 27 defensive stops, 9 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. And like I said, I feel like you know what you're getting when you draft Jack Sawyer. A power rusher who could definitely, get some speed rushes down the line, but he's going to be more primarily a power rusher. He's going to be gritty. He's going to show you some great motor, some great effort from the edge. He's a solid run defender, very disciplined at holding the edge. 6'5", 260 pounds. He fits the Packers' threshold and what they like to draft at the edge position. A power rusher, 6'5" to 6'4" to 6'6". He fits the threshold perfectly in terms of what the Packers like at edge. He's a dog. Jack Sawyer, he's a leader. He's a captain. He's very vocal on the field. I feel like he'd be a great locker room presence for the Green Bay Packers. Now, there is some limitations in terms of his athleticism. His wingspan is not too long for an edge rusher, especially someone that's 6'5", so that could be a problem at the next level, especially because his explosiveness and quickness off the line is okay at best. Isn't very twitchy or bendy. Obviously, he's a power rusher. He's a bigger dude, but the motor's there, the grit's there, the leadership's there, the personality for a player is there. You know, the Packers love drafting characters. Players with high characters or good characters, and I think Jack Sawyer fits that brand. I wouldn't hate this pick. I wouldn't be opposed to it by any means. I think he'd be a very solid player. I think he'd be more productive as a rookie than LVN or Lucas Van Ness has been throughout his whole career, and that's not a shot at Lucas Van Ness. Maybe it was. But, he'd be a solid player. I just think some players on this list would probably be better in terms of pass rushing and more upside. I just don't want Jack Sawyer to be another Lucas Van Ness story. But I do think if he came in, if he was drafted by the Packers, he'd definitely be more productive and more disruptive as a rookie than Lucas Van Ness will ever be. Next edge rush prospect on this list is Jalen Walker out of Georgia. And this guy's a dog, man. I definitely prefer him and his inexperience and rawness at the edge position over the other Georgia edge rusher in this year's draft class, Micah Williams. I know Micah Williams is 6'6", definitely profiled as an edge at the next level. And Jalen Walker did play a little bit of that tweener role from off-ball linebacker and edge. And you don't really necessarily know what he's going to be better at the next level. I think he's going to be better at edge. But I prefer Jalen Walker and his 300 to 400 snaps at edge over Micah Williams. This dude is a dog. He has an elite motor. He's very quick off the line, very explosive, has one of the faster, get-offs I've seen for edge rusher in this year's draft class. And everybody talks about Abdul Carter being the Micah Parsons clone in this year's draft class, having Micah Parsons' potential, and rightfully so. I mean, Abdul Carter's a beast. But I think Jalen Walker also has Micah Parsons' potential. This dude is very, very good. Like I said, played off-ball linebacker, did play primarily more the edge this year, and he was solid at that. 17.1% win rate, 34 pressures, 31 defensive stops, 7 sacks, and like I had told you guys earlier and have highlight right here, just an elite motor, very athletic, very physical. He goes from one side of the field to the other side of the field very fast for an edge rusher. And the first set of film I watched was him versus Calvin Banks. So if you don't know who Calvin Banks is, he's regarded as the number 1 tackle in this year's draft class. And someone who's going to get drafted probably inside the top 7. I thought he got better. I thought he got the better of the matchup between him and Calvin Banks pretty easily. Besides one snap, where Calvin Banks kind of just pushed him back and anchored onto him. I thought Jalen Walker was beating him off the line very easily, pushing him back, using some nice swing moves, just some moves in general, just being quick off the ball and just beating him to the punch. And that's what I want to see. This dude isn't experienced, only has about 300 to 400 snaps at the edge position, but that just means there's a lot more to untap from that potential at the edge position. And I think he's going to be a stud, man. Like I said, the athleticism is off the charts. He's very disciplined in the sense at holding the edge in terms of run support. I do think his tackling can be a little bit better, but he has an elite motor, like I said. He goes from the left side of the field to the right side of the field and makes plays. Vice versa, from the right side to the left side. So I'm a huge fan of Jalen Walker. He is a little bit inexperienced and raw, but I definitely prefer him over Micah Williams, the other Georgia edge rusher in this year's draft class. All right, next prospect on this list is Nick Scourton. And if we do want to go by statistics right off the bat, his season in 2023 at Purdue was definitely way better from a pass rushing statistical point. But this season at Texas A&M, I thought he was being asked more to be just more disciplined at the edge, hold the edge, set the edge, and be more, asked to play the run more than just pass rush. This year he had a 15.3% win rate, 34 pressures, 22 defensive stops, 4 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. He is 6'4", 284 pounds. The dude has very long hands, very solid hand placement, very violent hands. He's very quick off the line, has a solid motor. Seems very gritty. One thing I will say about Nick Scourton is I think he's actually the best run defense edge in this year's draft class. I think there's a legitimate case for that because this year, man, he was just really disciplined at setting the edge, holding the edge, and making some really good tackles and crashing down and just being disruptive in terms of stopping the run. And I do think the pass rush abilities are there. I think he does have some things to tune up at the next level, but if you want somebody that's going to be really disciplined, holding the edge, has really good eye discipline, has some solid tackling fundamentals from the edge, Nick Scourton is your dude. 6'4", 284 pounds. Isn't going to have the bend or the twitch as some other dudes on this list because of his weight. But the explosiveness is there. The violence is there. The aggressiveness is there. The long arms is there. The power moves are there. Has some things to tune up at the next level maybe, but doesn't every prospect coming out of each draft. So Nick Scourton, I'm a huge fan of. His teammate Shamar Stewart, as I'm recording this, is absolutely destroying the Senior Bowl. And he's not, I think he's sitting for the rest of the Senior Bowl just because of how good of a day how good of the 2 days he's had at the Senior Bowl. I like Shamar Stewart. I like Nick Scourton. If I had to choose between the two, I'd probably go Nick Scourton because I think he's probably a safer pick just because of what he offers. Run defense-wise, I think he's going to be just a really good stud at stopping the run defense. At stopping the run And then his pass rush abilities are only going to get better in transition as he develops more into the NFL. So Nick Gordon, I'm a pretty good fan of. I like his run defense. I think the abilities in terms of bull rushing people, power moves are there. Definitely has to work on some counter moves, but every rookie needs some tuning once they get into the NFL. Next edge rush prospect on this list is Princely Umani-Elliott, and I think there's a lot to like about Princely Umani-Elliott, and he has a pretty sick name as well. But I still think there's a lot to unlock or develop and unleash in terms of potential from Princely Umani-Elliott. This dude is very, very good at using his body and getting wide as a pass rusher. I think those are his two best abilities: is getting wide, using his body, using his long, solid arm reach. He has a very solid arm reach. Using his solid hand placement. His hand placement's fairly good. He has just a fluid movement when you watch him. When you watch him, he's just a smooth mover on the football field. His hand placement looks like it's second nature when he's doing all these things. His body movement, everything. This year averaged a 23.4% win rate, 55 pressures, 27 defensive stops, 11 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. The dude is very, very good. I still think in terms of speed rush and power rush, there's some more things he could add into his arsenal. Some counter moves he could learn from. And run defense wise, I think he could definitely get better. But the dude is 6'5", 255 pounds. And just the way he's able to get wide as an edge rusher, just seeing his body bend and twitch for a guy that's 6'5", 255 pounds reminds me of everybody's favorite former Packer, Zadarius Smith. Because Zadarius Smith, love him or hate him, the dude is a very solid and productive pass rusher for any team he goes to, just because his ability to get wide, use his body for a guy that's kind of like a tweener in the sense of his body type, and just dominate and get his hands first on the offensive lineman and just be quicker in a sense and powerful. More powerful. And I think Princely Umani-Elliott can do that as well. His best abilities, like I said, are getting wide, using his bodies. And one thing about this guy is, dude, he has like one of the slowest but like smoothest spin moves I've ever seen on tape. He uses leverage against the offensive linemen so well. It spins against their bodies when their leverage is going towards one way, spins against their bodies and gets home. I mean, it's not the most fastest spin move in the world, but it's definitely effective. Like I said, there is a lot to unlock from him. I still think the potential for a guy like Princely Umani-Elliott is through the roof, and I would not hate this pick at all. I think this is a guy that could come in and be very productive as a rookie and definitely get some pressures for the Packers. And finally, the last prospect on this list is one of my favorite prospects overall in this year's draft class, Mike Green from Marshall. And I know people are going to talk about it right off the bat. Well, he played in the Sun Belt Conference, didn't particularly play against the best competition on a week-to-week basis, but I don't care. Turn on the film, you see it. You see it. The dude is explosive, quick off the line, has violent hands, very fast hands, good hand placement. 6'4", 248 pounds. People might think, well, he's primarily a speed rusher. The dude has some power moves in his arsenal. He's not afraid to go head up with the offensive lineman and push them back into the quarterback. This year, he had a 21% win rate, and I think last year, just as a rotational guy, had like a 20 point something percent win rate. I don't know off the top of my head, but he had a 20% win rate, and he was just very disruptive as a rotational guy. Gets the full-time job, 21% win rate, 63 pressures, 49 defensive stops, 17 sacks. 17 sacks, and that doesn't just happen by coincidence, accident. I mean, you have to be a dog. I don't care if you're playing in the Sun Belt, you're playing in SEC. To get 17 sacks at the collegiate level is insane. 2 forced fumbles. I mean, the dude is very good. And one thing I will say about these stats right now is he had a chance to inflate them and get even more. The one thing that I will say when I turn on film is he has to work on his tackling for sure. I felt like he missed a lot of tackles, but the dude was in the backfield. I mean, like I said, these stats should have been way more. He should have had like around 58 defensive stops, around like 20-ish sacks, and maybe even another forced fumble because, I mean, he was just getting to the backfield so many times, but was just whiffing on some tackles, which at the next level, he has to work on for sure. But beating the guys to the punch, beating offensive linemen to the punch, beating them with sheer quickness, twitch, and bend, or simply using power, Mike Green has it. I mean, he's able to do both those things. I do think his discipline at holding the edge and eye discipline and run defense does need some work, but pass rush wise, the dude has it all. I think the tools are there. I think with the right defensive coordinator, with the right defensive scheme, with the right team that just allows him to use his best abilities and get after the quarterback, he could be a game maker for one of these NFL teams and a really fun player to watch. And I hope the Packers, if Mike Green is on the radar, the Packers really do look into him and maybe even select this dude, because I think Mike Green could be a really, really good player in the NFL for one of these NFL teams. And that's going to go ahead and wrap up the video, guys. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, like the analysis, like these prospects that I have on this list, and what prospects you would put on this list, and what are your personal favorite edge rush prospects in this year's draft class. I think this is a very deep and talented class that has a lot of athleticism and a lot of versatility. I will be making another video similar like this, but for wide receivers in this year's draft class, though. So if you do want to see that video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe for the channel, man. It's going to be posted in the next couple of days. I have been making YouTube shorts for the Senior Bowl, so if you want to stay up to date with the Senior Bowl, please go look at my YouTube shorts. But that's going to be it, man. I'm out.